How are you all doing? My name is Joseph Ngugi. I am one of the co-founders of Pre-PT Grind, one of the co-creators of the Accepted System, also a physical therapist, here to serve you. And our purpose at Pre-PT Grind is to help you get into PT school without wasting time or money, whether that's from coaching, whether that's from live trainings like this one, or even bringing in guests, other pre-PTs that have been exactly where you have been, just to help direct you, give you some clarity, give you some inspiration, motivation, just give you the will and the act and the push to actually do something that will literally take you strides towards getting accepted as a pre-PT. So tonight, I'm not going to do most of the talking. Savanna, one of our accepted system students, will be sharing her story and just a lot of the frustration she had, her own roller coaster journey as a pre-PT, a lot of the doubt, feeling isolated, and so I'm gonna let her do a lot of the talking. But the reason why we do this is this: the reason why live streams like this even matter is simply because for a lot of us as pre-PTs, there's so much there's so much power in knowing that someone else who was in the same situation as us did it. And then now to get to the point where you can actually figure out what they actually did to get the goal of, getting into PT school, or getting an interview, whatever that looks like to you, just to know that somebody else who is in the exact same position did it is absolutely massive. So we have Jens, we have Rashad, how you doing? Alex, Anthony, Ajit, how you doing? Samantha, and Savanna, of course. Let me let Savanna on here. But live, comment, watching on replay, comment hashtag team replay, just so we know that you're here. Even if you're watching this 2-3 days after this, just so we know you guys are present. Thank you guys for being here tonight. But I'm excited. Let's see if it'll let Savanna hop on. Savanna, let's see. It's saying that it's adding her, but if it goofs off, no problem at all. But for each and every one of you, you have to start asking yourself, as a pre-PT, why, I had a cousin that used to tell me, why do you do the things you do, right? And it used to be like the most annoying little statement ever. But we have to ask ourselves as pre-PTs, why do we see things the way we do? Why do we doubt whether something is going, whether we'll pass the GRE? Why do we doubt whether or not we'll get into PT school? What are the real reasons that lead us to freak out about actually getting accepted? And it just try to bring you on, Savannah. I don't know. I'll try again. Let me see, Savannah, if it'll let you on. I'll give it a shot. But as a pre-PT, we have to ask ourselves, what's the real reason why we feel the level of anxiety we feel going into the application process? What is it? Is it because we're spending a lot of time focusing on other people's stories? Is it because we don't feel like we have the right intel or the right people around us? We have to start asking ourselves those questions. And for Savannah, she'll be sharing that with you right now. Savannah, what's up? How you doing? Can you hear me?
Hey.
Perfect.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right, perfect.
Sweet. We're golden then.
What Savannah will be sharing is her story, and just a lot of the things that she was like, man, and if you'll hear her story, there are people in her journey that were like, you have a pretty good application, but she still had certain things that she was struggling with, being far away from really anybody that looked like her in terms of being a pre-PT, going through the same journey she was going through. And so if that's you, then you're going to want to listen to this story. So Savannah, how is your evening going? How are you feeling?
I'm doing fantastic, Joseph.
Perfect. All right, Savannah. So tonight you're doing all the talking. So what I want you to do is, first of all, just give us a little background. As a pre-PT, what led you towards physical therapy? Because that's clearly a major passion of yours career-wise. What led you to PT? And then we'll dive into what your story looked like. Andy, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. And then we'll dive into all the ins and outs, your roller coaster phase, what that looked like, how you navigated through it, and how in the world you think and act and feel the way you do today. Let's go.
All right. Well, let's start with, how did I discover PT? So I actually found Pre-PT Grind through the APTA podcast. But to go even further back, I actually took a very analytical approach to choosing my career. I graduated with a biological sciences degree, had no clue really what I wanted to do with it, and knew that the job that I was currently in wasn't where I wanted to be long term. So I actually went probably into a year period where I was really just searching and trying to figure out what it was that fit me. And I actually looked at doctor, I looked at all these different things in the medical field, but I just slowly felt myself drawn more and more and more into working with people and health. And so my husband and I took a road trip, and I still remember the day he looked over at me and said, "Why not PT?" Like, it was a light bulb moment for me. Why had I never considered PT before? And it just got the wheels turning for me. And I started realizing that, hey, like, I could actually really see myself getting into this. And the more I researched, the more I fell in love with it. And that's kind of what brought me here overall today. And what I found, though, is that Alaska, which is where I live, is an island, especially with healthcare. Our healthcare is very different. And so for me, I felt very alone. I didn't feel like I had any community here. And I had no friends who were pursuing anything besides nursing, really. Like, that was just where people were being drawn to. So for me, like, that part of my story, I started feeling like, okay, like, maybe I'm not so sure about this. Like, is this possible? What even goes into becoming a physical therapist? And that story started getting really tough for me. And I just started feeling like maybe I wasn't capable of actually pursuing this because I felt like I was doing it all by myself. Even though I have a fantastic support system and I'm very blessed to have an amazing family and a husband who supports me, like, when they don't go through the same journey as you, they're not in the same position as you, they can't empathize on the same level that someone who's going through it at the same time you are can. And so for me, like, it was just, I felt like I was wallowing in uncertainty. I didn't know if PT even was right. I would go through levels of doubt. And it was just one day I'd be so excited and so passionate and so ready to get this journey started. And then the next day it would be like, okay, like, I don't think I can do this by myself. So back to what I started with, I actually found Pre-PT Grind through the APTA podcast. And the reason I was listening to APTA was to figure out if PT was right for me, to try to conquer some of those doubts that I was feeling. And they interviewed you guys, and I was like, huh, well, that seems like something I should check out. Yeah, I don't think you knew that, Joseph, did you? Yeah, so I actually went on there and I started checking out Pre-PT Grind from a distance. Totally thought they were a scam for a very long time. But the longer I was on there, the more I realized that you guys are just such real people, such human beings who are looking to actually assist and help and serve all of these pre-PTs just like me. And I reached out several times just to talk on live streams just like this one to see, like, what the community of people like me were thinking, were feeling, were going through, and seeing if I could actually develop community that way. And so I actually found that, one, you guys are real and you actually can empathize with my story and understand my story. And so for me, the acceptance system was a no-brainer when I reached the position of, I can see myself really benefiting from a community like this. Not only do they give me the pieces that I need to actually understand this application process and be able to put together all the moving parts that are happening, because there's so much detail that goes into it, but they can also give me the community of support that I've been longing for.
Well, appreciate that. Let's take a few steps back though, Savanna, because who's watching live that's applying currently? Like, you either recently submitted, or you're currently getting ready to submit, or you're still looking at PT Cast, maybe freaking out about it. So right now, from those watching live, who, just say me, like, who's applying, like, right now? Who's applying currently? Like, right now. I'm not, Savannah's not, but who, like, well, it's a little different, but
yes, yeah, I am.
Yeah, she is. but like, who's applying right now? Who's watching this live? Because a lot of, what's up, Andrew? How you doing, Colin? Because a lot of what Savannah will share, because we're going to get into the other side now, where we're going to get into now, like the frustrations that you were not really, because the thing, okay, like understand this, every single person that comes on a live stream here has a completely different story. For Savannah, she'll share it. Like hers was not the super low GPA and like super like it wasn't that. It was completely different. Like she hinted on it a little bit, but for her it was a lot of like the stress of not really knowing where she kind of played, being in a location where she had nobody else around her. So right now, Savannah, as you're a 2019 applicant for PT school, like what is like take us back to where you were at before, because you were starting to tell us a little bit about your community. You're obviously in the acceptance system, but like take us back to before that. Like what were your biggest frustrations? Like what was it? The ice, like break that down, and then you've also really talked about a little bit about your feeling of just kind of like you were on this roller coaster. Talk to us about that, because there are students that are still feeling that and they're applying currently.
Yeah, for real. And that's such a dark place to be too, is when you're dealing with those frustrations and things when you're by yourself. I struggled a lot with doubt, like I mentioned before, but even deeper level than that, it was the fear of failure. Like just to be completely honest with you guys, I have a 4.0 GPA. Like everyone around me was telling me that it would just be a walk in the park to get into PT school, and that's not how I was feeling at all. Because one, when you have that amount of people around you telling you like it's not going to be difficult, you can totally do this, and they almost begin to expect that of you over time. And so if something did happen, like it's all of a sudden this, well, what's wrong with you? Like what happened? That kind of thing. And there was just this constant fear of failure for me that was almost crippling, because I felt so much pressure that maybe they didn't intend to put on me, but that's where I was at, because I felt like I was going to let my family down, or my husband, or even just my church community. Like it just continued to spiral out of control, and I was putting so much pressure on myself that it's
Yeah.
overwhelming, completely overwhelming. And so that roller coaster of emotions I was talking about, it's like those moments where you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like you're meant to be a PT. You absolutely love it. But then it's those crushing outside variables that sometimes you can't always predict, that kind of creep up on you over time. And with the application process, like it wasn't just the fear of failure, it was also the idea of just not knowing. Like there's so many unknowns involved with this process. You may not know what school is going to be the best fit for you yet. You may not know, if if you can really think of a good thing for your essay topic. Like there's so many ways that the unknowns, the moving to a new place. There's so many different things that for me that was starting to become like logistically challenging in my brain for me to process, because there would be such a season of change involved with all of this. And I guess part of that too, with those frustrations, is just I was really letting myself get in my own way. I was stuck in that headspace of thinking like of all the negative things that could possibly go wrong, and worrying constantly basically about this whole process, instead of allowing myself to get out of my own way and actually stepping back and saying, okay, what can I do today to put myself
Huh.
on the right track? What kind of process can I start to put in place for myself that can put me ahead of the game? And how can I start speaking to myself so that it's building my confidence, not tearing myself down, and not tearing myself as an applicant down? Because the schools are going to see what you think of yourself
Yep.
in your application.
It's true. So let's take it another step further. And I think your video froze. I don't know if it's just on my end, but I can still hear you. So that's
Okay.
so
It's
yeah,
frozen on my end
it's
too.
all good. So what, like from your perspective as a pre PT, if right now I am a pre PT kind of struggling with a lot of those things, you were talking about pressure. Can you still hear me? Oh, your video's
Yeah.
back. Perfect. So you were talking about pressure. I 100% concur with that. And it's for different reasons. Sometimes it's pressure because it's like this burden's been put on you for you having, maybe like good scores or things looking like they're just going to be a walk in the park to everybody else. And other times
The
it's the
expectations.
added pressure of like
Hmm.
like I've had students tell me like I'm the only one that's gotten this far academically. So there's a lot of pressure to not fail. So how would you say, if I'm a pre-PT, what are things that I can start doing to like almost like avoid or get rid or uncap that pressure that keeps building up from family, friends, other people around me that are not me? Like what are some things that you have done or things that we can use as pre-PTs to start like actually breaking that down? Because the honest truth is, if you're feeling that amount of pressure, it's going to affect so many other things. So what can we like tactics, like what are things that we can do based off of what you've experienced?
I think the very first thing you got to work on is your mind. Because if you're still stuck in that pressure thing, but you choose not to change your perspective on it, then it's going to be a consistent
Yep.
cyclic loop. And so for me, the very first thing I had to start with is being willing to even break the mold, because that's scary too. Like you get those expectations and those ideas of what people think too, and breaking the mold means you're going to make
Mm.
someone unhappy. It's just a guarantee. And so you have to be able to be okay with that. Let go of what people are thinking of you. And honestly, it's not going to affect you in the long run. Like that's going to be a blip in your history in 3 years from now. Like you're not going to care what so
That's
and so
true.
thinks of you. So if this is truly your goal, if this is truly what you want to do, and you're feeling that kind of pressure like I did, then you have to first start with being willing to
Mm.
break the mold. And once you actually have that, like some of the things that I started doing was I started doing personal development and meditation, like focusing on me, not what everyone around me was thinking or saying to me. That was huge. That was huge. And so for me, like some of that might be books, there's podcasts, there's so many resources out there for personal development, but I had to start taking time for self-care. I had to start allowing that to become a priority in my life. Whereas before, that was the first thing to fly out the window the moment that pressure started entering into my life. And so for me, uncapping that pressure became okay, no, I am capable. I can do these things, and I need to let the rest of it go.
Wow. So take it another step. So like I'm hearing you, Savannah, and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, like, but everyone keeps talking about mindset, and it kind of sounds like a hocus pocus, very.
Like a cult.
Let's be real, like I think that too.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm listening right now, and I'm hearing you. I'm like, okay, like mindset, okay, like what's that going to
What does
do?
it really
Like
mean?
like why is having like a changed mindset so critical? Like let's take it a little deeper. And then secondly, like in terms of personal development, if I have never done anything like it, what are some things that I can start doing right now as a pre-PT to start like changing, like actively changing? Megan, how are you doing? Like actively changing how I think, like every single day, and then what would that look like in terms of my application? Like, how's that actually going to help my application? How's that going to help, like, everything else that I'm currently going through? I know those like three questions.
All right. Yeah. So let's start with the first one. So I'm going to take you back to an analogy. I used to be majorly into basketball. I played all through high school, absolutely loved it. If you're on a sports team of any kind, and if your team is all on the same page and has the same goal in mind, you're way, way more powerful because of that team chemistry, because you all have that same mindset, than if one of you feels like you can win the championship and the rest of you are doubting your abilities. And the same thing goes in your individual pre-PT journey. If you're sitting there and you're doubting and you're sitting and wallowing in that mindset, then you're stuck. You're not moving anywhere. You're just going to be degrading and going backwards. But if you're in that mindset that, hey, I can do this, I can put myself forward towards this goal that I have. And if you put yourself in a team like the acceptance system, you've just now leveled yourself up in a way that you are able to accomplish that goal in honestly one of the most amazing ways
Hmm.
possible. And I guess like the more tangible way to actually do those things, I mean, for me too, I felt that mindset, like what in the world is that, outside of just my attitude, what else goes into that? And it's really, what are you saying to yourself? How are you choosing to perceive the world around you? What is your attitude when you're approaching the application process? And how do you feel that schools will view you? I mean, comes and plays a role into that. If you're going into the application process and already saying like, I'm going to fail, yeah, well, you kind of just set yourself up for failure. But if you're going into the applications process saying, no, I can be the best student, I can get into this top school that I want to get into, and start actually taking actionable steps to get there, because of your attitude to start with, you're going to get there way faster than if you had sat there and struggled and allowed yourself to continue struggling. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that I started with that was just very simple was writing down affirmations to myself that and repeating those daily every morning when I was eating breakfast. I had written down things I was grateful for in my life. And it could be the same things every day. It didn't have to change all the time, but I would make sure to point those things out. And then I also would sit and write down, I will be an excellent PT. I will make it into PT school. Not I can or I might. I will. Doing things like that. I can, I will, and I am capable. Starting with those kinds of thoughts, you're going to be able to completely change yourself, the way you view things. It's going to put you in a position of being in a leadership role you may never have expected. You're going to impact lives that way too, because you know those negative people in your life. You know those people that wallow in it, who just infect everyone around them with negativity. Don't really want that to be you, you know? So
Here's one thing I'd love everyone who's watching right now to do. If you're watching right now and you're a pre-PT, if you're interested in starting to change how I mean, we're just touching on surface level things here, but this is lacking in not only the pre-PT world but in our entire profession. But I want you to start seeing yourself as the doctor of physical therapy that you're going to become. And so what I want you to do, little simple activity. Comment below, I am doctor, write your name, period. And I deserve to be a physical therapist. Just write it below. Ooh, she even got the stick. So if you're watching live, if you're watching this on replay, just write this below. Just like comment it, because a lot of it is like it's repeatedly like you're almost like training your brain to accept it as just a fact. You know what I mean? And we've talked about this in live streams where what you perceive. Yeah. So Melanie said, I kept telling myself I'm the only thing that will hold me back from becoming a PT. Yeah. Whatever happens throughout the application process, I feel like it wasn't my time yet. I wasn't accepted this past cycle, but I took those rejections and turned it around by thinking of how I can better myself, how I can learn throughout the year, and constantly remind myself that I will become let's freaking go. Let's go, Melanie. Kara says, I am Dr. Peters and I deserve to become a physical therapist. So do you actually believe that? Because the honest truth is, Savanna sure does. Savannah sure does. Kara sure does. Melanie sure does. But the results that, like, you can't just want to be a physical therapist. It's not like I want to be a PT. You have to like you have to like almost expect it. You have to expect that you're going to be a physical therapist. And no, is just sitting around in a room expecting to be a PT going to actually get you into PT school? Not quite. But what happens afterwards will. So let's see. Jennifer says, I am Dr. Jennifer Sharp. I clearly see my vision and goals, and I will get into my physical therapy program and be the best physical therapist I can be. Melanie says, oh, on my graduation cap, I wrote one more degree until I'm a DPT. You got it. So you have to see it. Like, it has to be so real. It has to be so real that the actions you take are just like think about it. Like, it's like anything, right? If someone is running, like, let's say they're running like a marathon, right? If they expect to win, the actions they take when they're training are going to be that of an absolute winner. Like, there's a reason why certain people are just champions over and over and over again. There's a reason why Usain Bolt remained the fastest man in the world over and over again. It's because his expectations of himself were nothing but pure excellence. Like, he literally expected nothing else. Like, he didn't want to be second. He didn't want to be third. He didn't want to be an honorable mention. He was like, I expect to be the best, so my actions are. So he practiced harder than anybody else. Basketball players, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like these guys have just expected to be the greatest. They expect that they are going to be the best of all time. So their actions actually reflect that. But if you don't expect to be a physical therapist, if you don't believe that you deserve to be a physical therapist, then your actions will show it. And a lot of that comes from what Savanna's been talking about. Like, what are you actively doing? Like you can actually control this. Like, what are you actively doing every day to remind yourself of that? I'm having y'all like say, I am Dr. Blank, simply because I want you to see it. I want you to act like if you got I got like 3 whiteboards in this room, right? So like if you guys want to write it down on a whiteboard, if you want to write down on a sticky note like Savannah did, like what are you doing every day to remind yourself? Like take that sticky note, put it on your mirror. If you like, I hope you brush your teeth every morning. So if you're brushing your teeth, look at it as you brush your teeth, right? Like look at it. Say it to yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, but just look at it. See it so that it's just real. And because it's real, you're going to act on it. Because it's real, you're going to make sure that if you have a GRE that you're taking in 3 weeks, the action that you're taking towards that GRE are just expecting that you're going to crush it. And because you expect that you're going to crush it, you're studying harder. If I expect that I'm going to be the best, then I'm going to train harder than anybody else. I'm going to seek as much leverage as I can. Savanna sought that through the acceptance system. That might be you, that might not be you. It's up to you. But the honest truth is, like, what are you doing to ensure that you remind yourself that you are a doctor of physical therapy? You're just a few years early, but you are a doctor of physical therapy. Isaac says, I'm Dr. Isaac Harding, and I will get into my DPT program and become the best physical therapist I can be. What's up, Kashawn? How you doing? Kara said, I took another practice GRE test today, and I didn't do well, but I am going to do well in 10 days because I'm working for it. Let's freaking go. Yeah, you guys, this is it. This is it. If there's anything you guys can learn from Savanna, and then we're going to close up because I have another live training. So, Kara, could you tell the others that I'll be hopping on that Zoom call like 5 minutes late? Anyway, but the biggest thing is understanding that, like, this is the first stage of transitioning into where you actually have control. Like, that's our message this year, that you can actually have control over not just whether or not you get into PT school, but so much more. What's up, Tony? How you doing, brother? But as we finish, Savannah, can you leave us with anything? Yeah. Kara, I didn't forget about y'all. Don't worry. It's just that Savannah been, she started serving the people real well. So I had to make sure we were good. Just post in the group, be like, hey guys, or comment in the post in the group, Kara, just be like, hey, Joseph is coming on in 5 minutes. He's finishing up a live stream, and I'll be there. But what can you leave us with today, Savannah? What is one last thing that you would want the people, the pre-PTs that are watching right now, to hear?
All right. So I think the biggest thing is once you start figuring out some of that mindset things, those attitudes, the biggest thing that will actually start to harm that is if you start playing that comparison game. Run your own race, guys. It's not going to be a competition between you and that PT next to you. That's not the way this works.
Couldn't have said it better. Y'all, listen. You don't, man. Like, I don't know how many times we have to say this until you understand it, but if this is what you desire, like, it's yours already. Like, you might have gone through a few obstacles already. You may still have a lot to go through, but it's yours already. Like, are you willing to start believing that now? Are you willing to start literally, like, training yourself? You have to train yourself, because we're not, like, it's almost like as kids, we go through like a huge curve, right? So as babies, we're like, we don't really care. We're just like, like, whatever I want, I'll get. And then we're taught to be ultra careful. We're taught to be very calculated. We're taught that things might not happen. So just go into it with the notion that, like, it's all, like, you're taught to be scared of going for what you want and absolutely being unapologetic about it. Simply put. So go get it. And if you need some guidance, if you're like, I want some clarity, I want to figure out, like, hit us up. Go to contactpreptgrind.com. Let's talk. Let's figure out if you're a match. Let's figure out if it's the accepted system. Let's see. Are you a match to be like in our coaching program? Like whatever it looks like. Is it a call? Is it like whatever you need? Let's figure that out, because you can't afford to keep doing this over and over again, telling yourself the story maybe next year, maybe the year after that, maybe the year after that, until you actually talk yourself out of the dream that you desire, which is physical therapy. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, say got it. Say got it. But Savanna, deeply, deeply appreciate you spending some time with us. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Savanna's an absolute winner. Can we give her a round of applause, y'all? Can we give her a round of applause for just sharing her story? Y'all watching on replay, y'all watching live, thank you guys so much. Keep pushing yourself. Strive for excellence. Strive for excellence in whatever capacity that looks like. Nobody should stop you from from attaining what you want. And if physical therapy is what you desire, man, let's go get it. Let's go get it. There's things that can be done. Let's line them up. So proud of y'all for pushing yourselves. So proud of y'all for being a part of a community of people that's just like looking for ways to get to what they desire. PT is an absolutely amazing profession, y'all. It really is. And we cannot wait to welcome you into our profession. Savanna, thank you so much. Y'all have a great evening. Many blessings. Goodbye. Y'all have a good one.